was unreal.
I tell you what was unreal. Did you see that Josh Sargent asked for the match ball after the game?
What's that? If I scored a goal like that, I think I'd ask for it.
He scored 2.
Yeah, I know that it's normally a hat-trick thing, but you can let him off.
Why? You don't get the match ball for scoring 2.
Norwich don't win very often. He scored 2 goals.
Imagine how many strikers, like legendary strikers, who have like a garage full of footballs if they scored 2.
Put it this way, though, none of the Watford players want to want that ball. And yes, I don't think the ball was exactly in high demand, so I think we can allow him that. But what a goal and what a win for Norwich in general. I know they were good against Everton last weekend, but a lot of people said that was because of the situation the Toffees are in. How good were they on Friday night?
I thought it wasn't the greatest game in the world to watch, if I'm honest. But as a Newcastle fan, I was sitting watching the game going, please be a draw, please be a draw, please be a draw. And if someone's going to win it, I think Watford are more of a threat still than Norwich, even though their form over the last couple of games is quite good and it's got them at the bottom 3 and they can see a little bit of a light and they can reel Leeds and Everton in. But I still think they've got a long way to go, Norwich. If they're going to convince anyone they're going to stay up, they need to be now consistent.
Yeah, of course, they've played those few games more than the teams below them as well, haven't they? Let's bring in a Norwich City fan. If this Norwich City fan doesn't have a massive smile on his face, yeah, there we go. That's better. I was going to say, there can be nothing but a huge smile plastered on your face from Friday night. I was at the game, and it was a cagey first half, but in the second half, Norwich really pounced on Watford's vulnerability. How impressed were you with the way Dean Smith's got them set up and the way they really seized the occasion and went on and scored not 1, not 2, but 3 goals?
Well, it's certainly nice as opposed to what it was earlier in the season. Dean has got the squad set up differently with the using the 2 strikers, which didn't happen before under Farka. Pukki was basically the lone striker, and sometimes he was basically sort of abandoned. He didn't get any service. But having Pukki with Ida has definitely helped the team. Also, what's helped immensely is not having some injuries and not having all the COVID sicknesses. One thing that's very interesting, of course, Sargent had a worldie, with the Scorpion. Him and Ida have been responsible for the last 5 Norwich goals. And, to have not over-reliance on Pukki is outstanding, because if you just over-rely on one guy, they're just going to be relegated. And we certainly don't want that. But, there's a lot more belief in the team. There's a lot more energy. They were fighting for the balls a lot more. It seems like they have more, more oomph, more desire, to get a result. And it's shown in, their work rate, and it's shown in their effort.
Yeah, that was what was most impressive for me. I felt like they looked like a really well-drilled team. They looked like they all knew their jobs. And it does just show, doesn't it, the difference having a really good coach can make. Is that what you've noticed differently from Dean Smith, just playing that slightly different formation and maybe giving them a bit of belief that had maybe gone under Parker?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's more of a belief. He's had the experience of actually surviving in the Premier League and has had more matches as a manager than Farka. I think possibly being an English manager than a German manager maybe gives him a little bit of an advantage of how the game is played at the Premier League level, but that I really don't have anything to base that on. But it's changing how the formation and then changing the midfield and trying to figure out what the best players are. Gilmore, nice lone player. I was on the Fanzone before, and I talked to the Norwegian who was Chelsea's loan manager. I totally forgot his name. He's a legend. He was on the show. And I asked him, he said he thought Gilmore's best position would be as midfielder as opposed to number 10. He just is not a good fit for the team. They need, strong holding midfielders, guys who are physical. And Lise Malou has come and played really well and been physical. And without Norman, who's supposedly going to be back when they play Palace, who's a tremendous player, they were relying on Sorensen. And Sorensen did really well. I think Sorensen can play all over the field. But they need people who are more physical and more getting into the nitty-gritty of it. Kenny McLean, he's a nice player. Everybody loves him. When they won the championship a couple of years ago, he had the bit where he had the hat on and was being the mayor. He's a nice player, but he's not someone that you really want to rely on in the defensive midfielder. He did wind up getting the pass that Pookie chased down. That pass was an errant pass, and I give Pookie a lot of credit for getting that pass and flipping it into Sargent and Sargent with that particular skull. But there's just more effort, more oomph, and I actually have some stats that I pulled up. What they've done under Fark versus under Smith. This is for 11 matches, so it's a great comparison. So under Fark, they got 5 points out of 33. Under Smith, 11 points out of 33. They've scored 8 goals. Under Smith, allowed 19, which isn't great. Under Fark, they scored 5 goals and allowed 26. So the team is improving. All the stats are improving, which is great. So it gives you hope that they can actually get out of the relegation zone and stay out of the relegation zone. Next match is against Palace. After the FA Cup, you really need to get points out of that, because in the next two are against the big boys at Man City and Liverpool, which will be difficult. But I think not as difficult as earlier in the year, where there just didn't seem to be a whole lot of hope in the team and a whole lot of chutzpah in the team, to use a nice Yiddish word.
Ken, I'm incredibly impressed. Not only did he give us his thoughts, he gave us stats as well. Brilliant to hear from you, Ken, and brilliant to be able to talk to you after a couple of really good Norwich City results. Great to hear from you. Well, it was great to hear from Ken there now, but Josh Sargent is understandably the man of the moment. Don might not think he deserves that match ball after scoring 2 goals, but he got the ball and he also did a brilliant post-match interview, so let's check it out now.
How important is it that you can get a result against Crystal Palace? That's your next match, considering it's Manchester City and then Liverpool after that.
So, obviously...
Give them away, give them away.
Obviously 6 points is huge from 2 games, and like I said, we're going to try to take this confidence into the next game.
The fans are celebrating as if you've stayed up already. Do you have a message for your fans? They've been absolutely unbelievable tonight.
Yeah, they're amazing tonight. They're amazing every game, and we're going to continue to need their support for the next one. So
that was nice.
Brilliant. I love that.
Just real, and you could almost tell he didn't really know what to do.
Fans should have went again when they went, ooh, and he went, hey, they should have went again, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
He's got loads off it.
When the floodlights went during that game, I think they were already winning at that point, but the Norwich fans were loving their afternoon. As the Norwich players were all around the dugout and waiting, even during that, the fans were singing, give us a wave to kind of various players. And you could see, I think it was Josh Sargent as well, and you could tell he was like, oh, okay then.
It's like according to Ken and what you're seeing there with Sargent in the interview and the fans obviously celebrating, there's something going there, isn't there? Like they've got momentum.
It does show, doesn't it, like what spirit, because I'm sure a lot of Norwich fans will admit that they maybe don't have the best squad in the Premier League. And even when you put Watford and Norwich's squads on paper next to each other, you'd argue that maybe Watford have some of the better players, but it just shows you what a brilliant manager, proper coaching and organisation and spirit can really do.
And what you can never measure, the word confidence. When players have got confidence, Kellen, when you've got confidence that you've got a couple of wins on the board, you get out the bottom 3, right, we can do this. Whereas when you're in a run of form of like 5 or 6 losses, you go on the pitch, and even though like you give it the big one, like you've got bravado going, yeah, we're confident we can win this, there's a little sort of thing in the back of your mind where you're thinking, how are we going to win this one? We've just lost 6 on the spin.
That's probably what Watford were feeling, because Claudio Ranieri came out in the week and said that late goal against Newcastle really buoyed us, were really confident. They didn't play that team at all. And anyway, from the first game of the weekend on to the last game of the weekend.